We got a new King of the Court Flash event, and man, are these rewards dope. Aaron Gordon, Superstar, Pro, with the Admiral David Robinson Star Foil. Oh my gosh, man, at least for me, definitely good. I mean, top 25 is impossible. I'm not going to get that, but to put those in the same category with a Superstar, Pro, and a Star Foil, along with another Star card, Carmelo Anthony, that's pretty good. Aaron Gordon in the top 250 Superstar with the Donovan Mitchell. Top 1250 David Robinson Foil. We have this card. If y'all remember, we pulled it in a ticket pack. Yeah. So we got the Admiral already. Be nice to get a Pro. Go along with the Kobe, even though I haven't pro'd him up yet. Saving him for like Platinum Playbook if I ever decide to use that. Elvin Hayes and top 15,000 guaranteed. You play one game, you're getting in the top 15,000. You get this Steve Nash Foil. If I'm not going to get the 1250, I'll sandbag to 15,000. 1250 is going to require just a little bit of work. But anyways, guys, that's not what we're going to do in this video. We are going to talk about the King of the Court deck, not the rewards and things like that. We're going to talk about the deck. It's been so long since I have done a King of the Court deck. I've seen a lot of newer players, not only in Discord, but send me messages on the YouTube page, leaving it in comments and stuff like that. So I'm going to give you two decks, both of them geared more towards the newer player, middle tier player, somebody that doesn't have a lot of event cards and things like that, and kind of explain how King of the Court works, strategy behind what I do. Now, if you're looking for the Twitch, Twitter, Discord, other YouTube page, memberships, anything like that, all of that is listed in the description. First deck we are going to look at. This is like the basic deck. Not necessarily basic as in I could jump in today, because some of these cards are, well, obviously that you see, they're the same. So it does take some time to get that. And all of them are 100% supercharged. So just the idea is that they are the lower tier cards that anybody can acquire. It does take a tad bit of time, maybe a day or two, to be able to do this. But the whole idea, King of the Court, you pick 6 cards, right? The computer randomizes which 6 cards you get, but it's a card out of the first column, card out of the second, third, fourth, and fifth. So you get one card from every column, and then your 6th card is a card from the first column, which is the most important part of the strategy, is that your first column has to be your best cards. Don't put your best cards last. Don't put your best cards in the middle. Put your best cards in the very first column. And with my strategy, I mean, there's tons of strategies you can use, but we'll just talk about the thing that I do. Everything in the first column has to be the same. Don't put like a 800 point card with a 500 point card, because yeah, the computer's just gonna screw you and give the 500 point card a lot of the times, and then the AI will have an 800 point card, and then you're just gonna not be able to beat it. So make them all the same tier, make them the best card. All the rest of them are, I kind of like to scale it down a little bit. I don't want to make the cards too big, and you definitely don't want to make the gap too big from your very best cards to your very worst cards. Now, the reason why I picked them all to be the same in this particular case, when I took the first or the second and the third column, they are uncommon pros, and like I said, they're all supercharged. Anthony Simmons, really good playmaking and offense. Patrick Patterson, I would have done all 3 of them Patrick Patterson if I had him, but I don't. So just because he's defense and rebounding. Since I know for sure that I'm going to get one of those cards in the second and the third column, I would have one with really high offense playmaking, one with really high defense rebounding. That way it kind of balances my deck and what I get, so I can kind of choose depending on what, you know, the matchup is or whatever. The last, kind of the same thing. Common, Fernando, something like that. And then Carson Edwards, I think, is the Celtics guy. High offense playmaking, rebounding, kind of defense. But yeah, that's what the deck looks like. We got some support cards in there. They really don't matter. It's kind of a basic, anybody can do this type of deck. All right, let's play a game with the deck. Let you see, I guess, what I'm thinking while I'm playing with this particular deck. Before we get started, though, let me first say that at least with these decks, with the low decks and with decks that you make with just basic regular cards, I would not expect to be able to get every ×2 in every single ladder of every single game every single time. It just does not work like that. A lot of times and sometimes they put the ×2s with cards you have to beat with 2 of your cards, and you don't want to do that. Sometimes they put the ×2 with cards that are just crazy overpowered that you can't even beat at all. Sometimes they put them with the best card every single row, and you can't do that either. So don't expect to be able to ever put together a deck in which you can put, beat every single ×2. And also, don't expect you to be able to win every single time 100% of the time, because this is based on your overall deck, your overall deck level, not matching your cards, not matching your tiers, not anything like that. They just take your overall deck, and sometimes you get a deck in which that top card is, for example, with this one, would be like a fully leveled up Epic Prime, which is in the 500s, and I can't beat that. And so sometimes you're going to get that very top of the pyramid with cards that your 2 best cards cannot beat. So you're just going to have to live with that. Other than that, though, as long as you can accept that this is a pretty, workable strategy and a workable deck in which you still can get points, still can get some of the ×2s, and still can grind this out and be successful, you'll be okay. Now, typically what I like to do is that I try to get rid of my commons first. I mean, the commons are the lowest cards. Once you get past the first row or the second row, your chances of being able to beat any other cards with your worst cards is running pretty slim. So sometimes that means you got to skip a ×2 multiplier. In this particular case, since it's offense and playmaking, offense and defense, I think this is Yogi Ferrell. He has a really high offense and playmaking, which of course they put that with the ×2. This stuff is not just coincidence that they put some of the best stats with the best cards in that row. It's just the way that it happens. You just got to live with it. So we could play an uncommon pro and be able to beat this, get the ×2, but if it's in the first row, I don't typically like to do that. Sometimes it works out, it does, and so I'll leave that, whether or not you want to risk it or not, up to you. But I think since the next row, also you got to keep in mind what's in the next row. Since the next row has a rebounding in there, I'm going to keep the Fernando for the next one. Try to get rid of this Carson Edwards, and we can by Grant something Harris Grant. I don't remember this guy's name. Corey Joseph. Holy shit, I wasn't even close. But anyway, we still won. Yeah, why was I thinking Grant? I don't know. Anyways, moving on. We got another one in which we could do the ×2 multiplier by using one of our uncommon pros. Or we could take a common pro and be able to dump that and just have decent cards for the rest of the round. And again, here is the choice you got to make. I mean, do you want to risk it? Do you want to have, a ×2, or do you want to make sure that you get done? Now, typically you can risk it 1, maybe 2 times and it still work out. All of these cards have been pretty high. I really haven't seen anything that's ridiculously low. So it still makes me think there's going to be at least one card in here that's higher than my rare pro. So you got to keep that in mind. But just for the sake of experimentation, I mean, let's go with the Patrick Patterson. Just because, let's win and get the ×2 multiplier, and this next row right above it I can leave for Anthony Simmons if I need to, because that's high offense and playmaking. So we'll get the ×2 multiplier. Maybe hopefully we get lucky and they don't put the best card at the very end, in which we have to have the 2 rares to win, because sometimes that happens, and then in which case the risking it for the biscuit did not work. Here, I like how there's 2 rares there. Basically rare as the same tier as my deck. So that makes me feel pretty good. But I don't like the fact that I have to use one of my rare pros. So you're certainly going to have to save the last rare pro for the top, and then be able to use your 2 commons for there. Or, I mean, actually, you know what? Probably the rare pro here and save for the 2 other ones for the top, because whichever one would be more. Let's go with, let's see, these are any rebounding. That has 1 rebounding in there. Let's use old Tyson Chandler. And we'll put him and just beat that one. We can't beat the Epic Prime on the right for the ×2 with the Tyson Chandler, so we might as well just go with the lowest card. Like I said, those ×2s are gonna be in those top tier decks or top tier cards in that row sometimes, and sometimes it's gonna be too hard to beat it. I like how they have that George Hill there, which is nice because I could use this old Anthony Simmons here and not have to use one of that. So we'll take that. I could have used my Rare Pro and got the ×2 multiplier if I wanted to think that this top one's going to be around 200, and we could have done it. So we could have gotten the ×2. We could have gotten the ×2 at the top. You just have to think about whether or not, okay, is it worth risking or is it not? There comes, you know, the I guess balance of trying to see how high the numbers are while you're going through each of the tiers. I think we probably could have been safe. I mean, we definitely would have been safe after looking at it. I've not played with this deck too much. I just put it together just for y'all to see, give you another deck that you can use for all you new players. Alright, moving on to the next deck, which is kind of like the deck that I've used for a really long time. I mean, basically the deck that I've used since, I don't know, the first month of the game, with some minor additions. This is certainly more advanced. You probably need to be playing within at least the past month to be able to pull this one off. But still no event cards, still no crazy high elite star, etc. Same strategy though, same exact setup. And this same setup I would suggest you to use no matter whatever your tier is. Just don't use unleveled cards. You really need at least some sort of leveling, just because you need cards to be below your deck. And if you have the bottom worst cards that are not leveled in your deck, then they can't go lower than that. But anyways, first column, same thing. Those are the best cards. Epic Prime Foil, Vince Carter, Paul Pierce, Yao Ming. And then the next two Epic Pros, which are supercharged, of course. First row are just regular ones, or first column is just regular Epic Pros. The second column, though, for the Epics, these are the ones that I have replaced. They used to be regular Epic Pros base cards, but I replaced them with Rookie Stars. These are not from packs. These are just from flash events and things that have been in the game, and they put these types of cards, just like the foils, in the flash events, just like the Steve Nash. In this flash event, you basically only need to play one single game and you could get that Steve Nash foil. Oh yeah, the Epic Primes are not pro'd up, by the way. I mean, you could tell, but just by the numbers. And then we got two columns in the back of Ultra Rare Pros. Same idea. We got the one with bigger men. They're not all the same. A little bit harder to get the same of higher tier cards. And then the last column is point guard, so high playmaking offense, and then with the other ones more defensive rebounding big man type stuff. Now same idea with this one. I try to get rid of the lowest cards. In this case it is now the Ultra Rare Pros, but looking at the deck that they have, these cards are really low. They are really low so far. 3 out of the 5 of them are pretty darn low, and so that kind of scares me just a little bit. Just because I don't know obviously what's coming. It makes me think that there's going to be some pretty high tier card later on down the road. Hopefully it's not the very last one, and hopefully it's not something crazy over, you know, 1,000 that I certainly couldn't beat with my 2 Epic Prime foils. But we'll see how it goes. Alright, so they threw in a ×2 on a low tier card. Again, that scares me. I don't like seeing, when you see so many lower tier cards or lower stat cards, they have to have at least a couple really high cards somewhere, if not one ridiculously high card. And I've used this deck for so many months now that I mean, no lie, I've played King of the Court matches in which the very last card was like 1500 in stats, and it's impossible to beat it, which is stupid that it does that. Years ago, I think, what, 2 years ago now, it used to match your cards exactly. If you put in 3 Epic Prime foils it would put in 3 epic prime foils. I mean, it would match it card for card. I mean, not the exact card, but just the tier itself. If you put in a pro, they would put in a pro. Same tier, same everything. Not no more. But anyways, moving on. Hey, we could beat that one with this one. I like that. Man, they're putting the ×2 on all of the low cards, which scares me. It's like ones like this that makes me think it's the very top is going to be ridiculous. Oh, there's the ridiculous one. See? This happens. This happens in this game mode. Lucky for us, and this would be one of those times where I would just say, hey, you know what? You just got to take the L, move on. But in this case, they put that Kobe Bryant in there on the second to the highest, not the very last one, thank goodness. So we'll be okay. Okay, obviously we can't beat the Kobe, so we're just going to skip out on that one. It's not always like this, though. It's not. I mean, you don't get those super high tier cards at the very end all of the time. But you do have decks in which they are really low at the beginning. And so that's like the identifier to let you know that, you know, this is going to be a deck where there's a super high overpowered card that's going to beat you. That's why we saved 2 good cards for the end. A lot of times that's how it is with this, but still, I mean, easy win. We got 4 out of the 5, which I'm certainly happy with. 18 points. Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it. Hopefully this video helped you out. If you got another deck, a normal deck, okay, don't pop off with a deck that has a bunch of event cards. Most people cannot do that, including me. I cannot put in a crazy deck that has all these crazy foils, event cards, special cards, all that stuff. Just regular, normal decks. You know, drop it in the comments. I love this Aaron Gordon, man. I can't. They made the top 25. I mean, they made the top 25 rewards. It feels like they're worth it. I mean, that's probably the best I've seen for rewards in flash events in quite some time. I mean, a Superstar Pro, a Star Foil, and another Star. I don't remember if they've ever put in an old event card, maybe like a past event card in a flash event. Maybe late when we get to Legend tier. I remember last year or the year before that they did that in flash events and stuff. They put old, you know. Anyways, guys. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the video. We're going to try to play a little bit at least, maybe to get this David Robinson, maybe at least for sure to get this Steve Nash. I don't want to go too high though, because it's not going to take much to get out of 5,000. Y'all have a good rest of your week. I'll see y'all again soon. I'm out. Peace.